The audience would get completely uncontrollable. People would begin to, rip their clothes off and throw them on the stage. Bras, underwear.
Hello everyone, I'm back today, and I'm going to talk about a documentary. That's the one, yep. And I'm going to talk about a documentary called Wait, what was that? Okay, anyways, I'm going to try that again. I'm going to talk about documentary. Okay, what the hell is going on? Did someone actually decide to start editing these videos? Okay, I wasn't even going to say the title. What the hell is happening? Maybe people can't hear it. Maybe this is just the noise in my head. I don't know. I wasn't even going to say it. You know what? This must be my free editor's fault. This is why you don't let people work for free. I'm telling you. You know what? I'm going to him. You're trying to censor me on my own show. I see. You do understand you're right? Again, stop censoring me. Okay, cool. You know what? That's it. Cut the technical difficulties. We gotta handle some things. Okay, now that I've gotten rid of my editor, it's gonna be hard to find another person who's gonna do this for free. Anyways, I'm gonna tell you about this fantastic documentary which broke down the life of Donna Summer. Now I'm gonna start off with the one negative thing I think I have about this documentary, and that one negative thing is the lack of focus on kind of how her songs were created and more of a focus on her own kind of personal life. And it was less about the music than maybe, one may have expected or hoped. And it was a little bit more about her. Again, it had the music obviously as a very, as a relative focal point because it's about someone who made music for a living. But I think there were some things which maybe were not touched on as much, mainly because, again, the focus seemed to be very much about her as a person, because obviously this, or maybe not obviously to people watching, but as anyone who has seen it knows, it was a documentary made by one of her daughters, exploring kind of who her mother was, in this case Donna Summers. So that was the one criticism I think I had with this. Now, on the other hand, oh Lord, the sound design for this was fantastic. Like, this is one of those documentaries where it's like, why the hell is this going to HBO, and is this not going to be seen on a big screen? Because it absolutely should. I'm going to move this back. There we go. That's a little bit less weird. But this is one of those documentaries which absolutely needs to be seen on the big screen. And I think if you're in Toronto and you can see it at Hot Docs, with one of the other screenings, which you can find on the Hot Docs website, you should absolutely go do that, because I gotta tell you, I think I enjoyed this more, and I think this is kind of being something which is being consistent, and I enjoyed these more when I see them, with an audience. And I think anyone who can see kind of these documentaries with an audience really does kind of bring out more than seeing it just by yourself. And speaking of seeing it with an audience, I was actually having an interesting conversation prior to the documentary, which kind of stuck in my head while I was watching this. And so I was talking to someone in the theater, and they were talking about kind of bias in documentaries, and how some of these documentaries, especially now, kind of sugarcoat some of the bad about a person, right? And then she used the example of the Last Dance documentary, which was about Michael Jordan, and how obviously he was a very heavy kind of contributor to it, and which meant that the documentary was very heavily favored toward him. Obviously, most people assume the reason he did that, he kind of greenlit it, was to kind of take focus away from LeBron James. Anyways, that's not what we're going to talk about here, though, because we're not talking about that. We will be talking about basketball documentary later. But anyways, not the point. for this, so and she was talking about the bias and how, if you have people, and this was before I even realized that the person who directed it was Donna Summer's daughter. But anyways, we were talking about this, and I was thinking about this the entire time once, they introduced the director, and I was like, oh, okay, I see, I understand. And it was interesting because there is you can, like, when knowing that and then thinking about that the entire time, that's all I could think about was, is this biased? And I think that was something which, although I think it did a good job at kind of avoiding explicit bias, there was clearly a lens which was not, very hidden. And maybe it was just because I knew that, like, I was kind of thinking about that kind of going into this. But if it wasn't, then it was a pretty obvious kind of thing. And it's interesting to kind of think about it now in that context. Now, it is still relatively balanced. I'm going to say that there were some very bad things, but I think even the bad things were a little bit sugar-coated to make them seem a little bit good. And again, I'm not, going to be able to tell you exactly what was, fully accurate and what wasn't, but it was definitely something which, anyone who watches this should definitely kind of think about while they're watching it. And now we've got to talk about the editing, because this editing in this documentary, and all of these documentaries so far, honestly, have been fantastic. And so this documentary, the style of the documentary was archival footage over top of audio, kind of interviews with family members and people and friends and kind of people related to Donna Summer and her whole story, right? So, when you have archival footage, you can get boring. And what I mean by that is, it can kind of just be like, oh, look, there's pictures, and I'm just listening to the words. It's essentially a podcast with pictures, right? But the thing that differentiates a podcast with pictures from a documentary film is how that footage is done. And I think right after the movie, when the director said, that the goal of this was to be kind of a full body experience, which is why they chose not to use any visual or majority of audio interviews compared to using visual interviews, was because they wanted to give you a full body experience. And I think if the editing was not good, you would have failed completely on that front. But because of the amazing editing, they actually managed to do that in such an effective way where I was like, damn, I don't have to listen to what they're saying. I'll just look at all the pictures on the screen, like the way they're placed, the transitions out of footage and into footage. Like, it's honestly so awesome. And I was just in complete and utter, like, maybe not disbelief, but I was amazed. And I was like, honestly, if I couldn't hear anything they were saying, this would still be a very enjoyable watch. Maybe it would be a little bit too long if I couldn't hear anything they were saying. But, it was still a very enjoyable watch. And so I think, even beyond the actual story, and that's one of the things I think that the good documentaries and the amazing documentaries kind of are able to differentiate themselves by, which is how engaged, if you were to turn off the audio, how engaged would the person be? You've got a bunch of good documentaries where if you turn off the audio, you'll just see a bunch of people talking and names showing up on a screen. And that's something which is fine in its own right. But I think and especially when you're doing full archival footage, that can be even harder because you have to find the footage and make it all fit, right? And so I think that was something which made this documentary just awesome. And also, these documentaries aren't super long, relatively speaking. I think the Love to Love You Donna Summer one was like an hour and a half-ish. And that's compared to like a 2-hour movie. This is a much better watch. I'm not going to lie to you. Honestly, this festival, after seeing 3 or 4 at this point documentaries, might actually make me stop watching movies, because goddamn, documentaries are so much fun. I guess that's kind of, watch this damn documentary. If you love Donna Summers or you love them, that kind of thing, watch it. If you love music, you should watch it. If you love documentaries, you should watch it. If you're just bored and you're looking for something to do, watch this thing. Like, honestly, it was really great. And I think you just need to watch it. That's what I'm going to say. Anyways, I will be back. I'm literally recording another review right after this. So, like, as soon as I click end. And then I'm going to run to another screening for the last documentary today, and then I'm going to record and edit. So I don't know. I told everyone yesterday that this was going to be out today. It probably will be, but obviously it's not morning anymore because it's 4:44 as I record this. But, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share your thoughts, follow us on social media. And because you're going to want to, because we've got some great coverage coming from the Hot Docs Film Festival. We're live in person and we are media accredited. That's right. Yeah, I should probably block it out later. Anyways, yeah, that's true. We are media accredited. And so you're going to definitely want to follow us on social media too. I've been doing a little bit of stuff there. I'm going to do a little bit more during the week. So at comicboys_ on Instagram, Twitter. I don't use the Twitter as much. I will start using it probably. But Instagram definitely, because, it's easier to get to the Instagram. So you want to follow us there. Follow me at KhalilJamal03. And subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on the podcast feed. Do all that stuff. Got some great coverage. And the saga of this free editor will continue. Anyways, bye-bye.